Welcome to Math with Miss Swartz. It is our last video you will have to watch for the entire school year, and it is a review for our Chapter 9 test, which is on Friday, which is your last test. Yay! Excited for summer. So let's jump right in and get through this. Okay, so your first pieces were simplifying radicals, rationalizing radicals, multiplying radicals, etc. So let's look at a few of these. So the square root of 100, hopefully you have those perfect squares memorized. That is 10. Negative square root of 49. So if the negative's on the outside, we're okay. So keep your negative. It's the opposite of the square root of 49, which is 7. Okay, so obviously not all of them are going to be perfect squares, so we have to be able to break these apart into, okay, we need to talk about finding the greatest perfect square factor. So that's going to be 9 in this case. And then x squared is a perfect square as well. So the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of x squared is x. X times x is x squared. And then we leave the square root of 3 inside. Okay. Square root of 45, break that apart to the greatest perfect square factor would be 9. So the square root of 9 is 3 times the square root of 5. So remember our rules. They have to be as simplified as possible. To be as simplified as possible under the square root, they cannot have a perfect square factor. They cannot be a fraction within a square root, and you can't have square roots in the denominator. Okay, so 24, 4 times 6 would be 2 times the square root of 6. 6, we have to break those apart. So we want the square root of 1 over the square root of 9. Square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 9 is 3. So 1/3 would be our answer. Same thing here, break these apart. All right, so now we have the square root of 3 in the denominator. You can't have those square roots in the denominator. So we could simplify the top first if we'd like. We've already simplified that right here. So 2 times the square root of 6 over the square root of 3. But now we need to rationalize our denominator. I'm going to try to find some space here. So I'm going to multiply by the square root of 3. The square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3 on the bottom. Okay, now I can multiply inside my radicals. So I'd have 2 times the square root of 18. Well, that has a perfect square factor of 9. So 2 times 3 times the square root of 2. So I'd have 6 times the square root of 2. Simplify any fraction here. So our answer would be 2 times the square root of 2. Okay, same thing here. We have 72, square root of 72 over square root of 6. You could simplify ahead of time. So the square root of 72, a perfect square factor of 72. So think about your perfect squares. 4 could be 1. 72 divided by 4 is 18. So maybe higher. 72 divided by 36 is 2. So that would work really well. So that leaves us with, I'm going to go underneath here, 6 times the square root of 2 over the square root of 6. So I need to rationalize it. So I have 6 times the square root of 12 over 6. Okay, this is not simplified, so 6 times 4 times 3. So this would be 12 times the square root of 3 over 6. Simplify here, so our final answer is 2 times the square root of 3. Because 12 divided by 6 is 2. Square root of 4 is 2. 6 times 2 is 12. Hopefully you figured that out. Okay, 9 similar. So 72, we already simplified that. That's 6 times the square root of 2. We did that right here. Over the square root of 3. So I can multiply by the square root of 3, top and bottom. So I have 3 over 6 times the square root of 6. Simplify here, so we get 2 times the square root of 6. Okay, these bottom ones, you may not feel like we've done these, but they're pretty simple, so I didn't spend too much time. We just distribute the square root or the squared term into both pieces. So 2 squared is 4. Square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is 5. So 20 is our answer. And you will have some of these on your test, but they're pretty simple. Same thing here, bring it to both pieces. So 8 squared times the square root of 25 squared. So 64 times 25. And that is 1,600. Okay, and then this one would just be the square root of 7 squared. So the square root of 7 times the square root of 7 gives you 7. Okay, so you'll have about the same number of simplifying radicals, similar types of problems on your test. You also need to be able to add and subtract radicals. So 12 minus 5 times the square root of 3. Remember, we just pull out those front numbers, so we would have 7 times the square root of 3. Make sure this is simplified. Okay. Now, we need to have matching radicals. So I have to simplify inside those. So I'm going to go 4 and 5 minus, and then 9 and 5. If I simplify here, greatest factor, that's a perfect square. So I have 18 times the square root of 5 minus 27 times the square root of 5. So if I rearrange those, 18 minus 27 times the square root of 5 would be negative. All right, 27 minus 18. 17 minus 18 would be 9. So 9, negative 9 times the square root of 5. Okay, and then I need to simplify this 20 here to make sure I can add this one. So this would be 4 times 5. So 6 times 2 is 12 times the square root of 5, because the square root of 4 is 2. So then we would have negative 7 plus 12 times the square root of 5. Give us 5 times the square root of 5. So you will have some adding and subtracting on your test as well. Again, pause, ask questions if you need. That's what I'm here for. All right, solving using square roots. Okay, I'm going to try, I'll probably split this up into 2 videos because it's going to get a little long, but try to get through this. Okay, so square roots, we want to get x squared by itself, so I'm going to add 16 to both sides. So I have x squared equals 16. I'm going to take the square root. Remember, when you do that, you're going to get plus or minus. I have 2 answers, so we have plus 4 and negative 4. Okay, 17, we're going to subtract 25 from both sides. We've got x squared equals negative 25. Can I have a square root that is negative? No, so this is no solution. Keep working here. Add 27 to both sides. So I have x squared equals 27. Take the square root. Okay, if it's not simplified, you have to keep going. So plus or minus the square root of 27 is correct, but I want you to keep going, so it needs to be plus or minus. Okay, well, that could be 9 times 3, so x is going to equal plus or minus 3 times the square root of 3. All right, add 45 to both sides. X squared equals 45. Take the square root. So x equals plus or minus square root of 45. Simplify this. Plus or minus square root of 9 times 5. So square or 3 times the square root of 5. So you have to make sure they're simplified, just like we practiced with in the first video, or in the first part of the video. All right, these ones are a little different. We have to take the square root first. So we have x plus 5 equals plus or minus 4. Now to get x alone, I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides, so I get -5 plus or minus 4. So I want to simplify that. -5 plus 4, -5 minus 4. So x equals -1, and x equals -9. Okay, square root this piece. So 2x minus 1 equals plus or minus 7. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. 1 plus or minus 7. And then divide by 2. So my two options are x equals 1 plus 7 divided by 2, or x equals 1 minus 7 divided by 2. So this would be 8 divided by 2, which is 4. And this would be -6 divided by 2, which is -3. Okay, here makes things a little tricky. We're going to have to work with fractions. We're going to divide by 4, and we're going to leave it as a fraction. So I have x minus 2 squared equals 25 over 4. Those are perfect squares, so that's a good sign. So I'm going to square root this. So I have x minus 2 equals, well, the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 4 is 2. Now I just need to add 2 to both sides, and I need a plus or minus. Almost forgot. Okay, so I have x equals 2 plus 5 halves, and x equals 2 minus 5 halves. So we got to do some math there. This would be 4 halves, so this would be 9 halves as our answer, and this would be 4 halves, so -1/2. So circle that and circle that. All right, last one, subtract 15 here. -2x squared equals -36. Divided by -2, x squared equals +18. Square root, x equals plus or minus square root of 18. That's not simplified, so x is going to equal plus or minus, if we did 9 times 2 in there, 3 times the square root of 2. Okay, I'm going to complete, actually, let's just keep going. Let's see how far we can get. Nope, I'm going to start a new video and have you watch 2 different parts. Okay, I'll come back with the next part of the last part of the worksheet on the next part of the next video. I can't talk. Okay?